The wind was strong that evening, cutting through the tall trees and shaking their bare branches. Snow covered the ground like a thick white blanket, making every step slow and heavy. Lena stood near the road, holding a small bag in one hand and her son's hand in the other. In front of them stood an old wooden cabin, quiet and forgotten. The cabin looked weak. Its roof was bent, and the paint on the walls had faded long ago. One window was broken, and the door leaned slightly to one side. Cold air slipped through every crack. It did not look like a place meant for living. Tom looked up at his mother, his lips shaking from the cold. His voice was small but full of fear. "We will freeze here, Mom." Lena felt her chest tighten. She wanted to say something strong and confident, but the truth hurt. This cabin was the only thing she could afford. She had spent every last coin she had to buy it. She knelt down so she was eye level with Tom. His face was red from the cold, and his eyes were watery. She brushed his hair gently with her fingers. "I know it looks bad," she said softly, "but this place will keep us safe. We will make it better together." Tom nodded slowly, trusting her words even though fear stayed in his eyes. They pushed the door open with effort. It made a loud sound as it moved. Inside, the cabin was dark and silent. Dust covered the floor, and spider webs hung in the corners. A small table stood near the wall, and an old chair lay broken beside it. The air smelled of old wood and time. Lena closed the door behind them and took a deep breath. This was their new home. It was not warm. It was not comfortable. But it was theirs. Just weeks earlier, their life had been very different. Lena used to live in a small apartment in the city. She worked long hours cleaning offices. The pay was low, but it was enough to survive. She never complained. She only wanted to give Tom a safe life. Then things changed. The building owner raised the rent. Food prices went up. Lena got sick and missed work. Bills piled up on the table, one after another. She sold her phone, then her extra clothes. Still, it was not enough. One cold morning, she received a letter telling her to leave the apartment. She had no place to go. She tried shelters, but they were full. Friends had their own problems. Lena spent nights worrying, holding Tom close and promising him things she was not sure she could give. Then she found the cabin. It was listed as abandoned land far from town. No one wanted it. People said it was useless, too old to fix. But it was cheap. Very cheap. Lena did not think long. She used all her savings and bought it. Now, standing inside the cold cabin, she wondered if she had made a mistake. Tom sat on the floor, hugging his knees. "It is very cold." "I know," Lena said. "Let me see if there is a fireplace." She searched the room and found one built of stone. It was covered in ash and dust, but it looked strong. She smiled a little. A fireplace meant warmth. She searched for wood but found only a few broken pieces. They were damp and useless. Lena sighed and wrapped her coat tighter around Tom. Night came fast. Outside, the wind grew louder. The cabin creaked and groaned like it was alive. Tom stayed close to his mother, listening to every sound. Lena held him, trying to stay calm. Inside, fear grew. She worried about the cold, about food, about what tomorrow would bring. Suddenly, a strange sound broke the silence. A soft knocking noise came from somewhere inside the cabin. Lena froze. Tom looked up, his eyes wide. "Mom, did you hear that?" She nodded slowly. Her heart beat fast. The sound came again, slow and deep, like someone tapping on wood. It was not from the door. It was not from the window. It came from beneath the floor. Lena held Tom close. Her mind filled with worry. This place was abandoned. No one should be here. The knocking stopped. The cabin returned to silence, but the fear stayed. Lena stayed awake all night, listening, holding Tom, watching the shadows move as the moonlight slipped through the broken window. She did not sleep. When morning came, pale light filled the cabin. The cold was still there, but fear slowly turned into curiosity. Lena stood up carefully. "Stay here," she told Tom. She walked toward the fireplace. The floorboards nearby looked different. One piece of wood was loose. She knelt down and touched it. The wood moved. Lena felt her breath stop. Something was hidden beneath the cabin. And whatever it was might be the reason this place was never truly empty. Morning light entered the cabin through the broken window. The cold had not left, but the darkness was gone. Lena stood near the fireplace, staring at the loose wooden board on the floor. Her heart still felt heavy from the night before. Tom watched her from the corner, wrapped in his coat. "Mom, what was that sound?" "I do not know yet," Lena replied calmly. "But we will find out." She did not want Tom to feel afraid. Even though fear lived inside her, she had learned to hide it well. Being a single mother taught her that fear could not be shown too often. Lena bent down and carefully lifted the loose board. Dust rose into the air, making her cough. Beneath it was darkness. She leaned closer and felt warm air rising from below. Warm air. That surprised her. Cabins like this were supposed to be cold everywhere. But this space felt different. "Stay back," she told Tom gently. She reached down and felt the edge of something solid. A wooden step. Then, another. "There are stairs," she whispered to herself. Lena hesitated. Every warning inside her mind told her to stop. But another thought followed. If someone built stairs here, then something important must be below. She grabbed a small flashlight from her bag. It was old, but it still worked. She turned it on and slowly stepped down. The stairs were narrow but strong. Each step made a soft sound, but nothing broke. The air grew warmer with every step she took. At the bottom, her light revealed a small hidden room. Lena gasped softly. The room was clean. Very clean. Wooden shelves lined the walls. On them sat jars filled with beans, rice, and dried food. Thick blankets were stacked neatly in one corner. A small metal stove stood against the wall, with dry wood beside it. This place was not abandoned. It was prepared. Tom carefully walked down behind her. His eyes grew wide. "Mom, look at all this." Lena felt her knees weaken. She sat down on a wooden crate and covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes, not from fear this time, but from relief. Someone had thought ahead. Someone had planned for hard times. On one shelf, Lena noticed a pile of old notebooks. She picked one up. The cover was worn, but words were written clearly on the first page. "My name is Ron." Lena opened the notebook and began to read silently. Ron wrote about living alone in the woods for many years. He wrote about winters that were too cold and days that felt too quiet. He wrote about watching families pass by, struggling, searching for shelter. "I cannot save everyone," Ron wrote. "But I can leave something behind." Lena felt her chest tighten again. The notebooks explained everything. Ron had built this hidden room to store food and warmth. He believed that one day, someone who truly needed help would find it. Tom touched one of the blankets. "Does this mean we will be okay?" Lena smiled through her tears. "Yes, I think we will." They carried supplies upstairs slowly. The blankets felt heavy but comforting. Lena cleaned the fireplace and placed dry wood inside. This time, when she lit the fire, it burned strong. Warmth spread through the cabin. Tom laughed softly as he stretched his hands toward the fire. It was the first laugh Lena had heard from him in days. The cabin no longer felt like a mistake. Later that day, Lena explored the rest of the cabin with new eyes. She noticed signs of care she had missed before. Boards were fixed carefully. The roof, though old, was strong. This place had been loved once. She cooked a simple meal using the stored food. It tasted better than anything she had eaten in weeks. As night came again, the wind returned, but this time it felt distant. The fire stayed strong. The cabin stayed warm. Tom lay on one of the blankets near the fire. His eyes slowly closed. "Mom," he said quietly, "I am not scared anymore." Lena sat beside him, brushing his hair gently. "Neither am I." That night, Lena slept for the first time in many days. But deep inside her, questions remained. Why did Ron leave? Why did he never return? And how long would this place protect them? Outside, snow continued to fall, covering the path that led to the cabin. The world beyond felt far away. Inside, warmth and hope grew quietly. But Lena knew this was only the beginning. The cabin had saved them once. Now she would have to fight to keep it. The next morning, Lena woke up to the sound of firewood cracking softly. The cabin felt different now. It was still old, but it was warm. The fear that once filled the walls had slowly faded. Tom was already awake. He sat near the fireplace, watching the flames dance. When he saw his mother open her eyes, he smiled. "It is warm," he said happily. Lena smiled back. "Yes. We are lucky." She stood up and stretched her tired body. For the first time in a long while, her back did not ache from sleeping in the cold. She thanked the quiet cabin in her heart. After a simple breakfast, Lena made a decision. If they were going to stay here, even for a short time, they needed to make the cabin safer. She grabbed a hammer and nails she found in the hidden room. Tom followed her closely. They started with the broken window. Lena placed wooden boards over it and nailed them carefully. The wind could no longer enter freely. Tom held the board steady and felt proud to help. Next, they fixed the door. It still leaned, but it closed better than before. Small steps, Lena thought. Small steps matter. As they worked, Lena talked to Tom about the cabin. She told him that this place was not just a shelter. It was a chance to start again. Tom listened quietly. "Do you think we can live here for a long time?" Lena paused. She did not want to promise something she could not keep. "I think we can live here for now. And we will see what tomorrow brings." Tom nodded. That answer felt honest. Later that day, Lena returned to the notebooks. She sat by the fire and read Ron's words out loud. Tom listened while drawing shapes in the dust on the floor. Ron wrote about storms that lasted days. He wrote about learning patience. He wrote about hope being a quiet thing that grows slowly. One line stayed with Lena. A place can change a person, but a person can also change a place. Lena closed the notebook and looked around the cabin. She realized that Ron had not just built walls and storage. He had built a lesson. That afternoon, Lena stepped outside for the first time without fear. The forest stood tall and silent. Snow covered everything, but she noticed animal tracks near the cabin. Life was still moving. She gathered small branches while Tom stayed near the door. The air was cold, but it did not scare her as much anymore. Suddenly, she heard a sound behind her. Footsteps. Lena turned quickly. Her heart raced. A man stood a few steps away. He was older, with gray hair and a tired face. He raised his hands slowly to show he meant no harm. "I did not know anyone lived here," he said gently. Lena stayed calm, though her body felt tense. "We just arrived." The man nodded. "I am Sam. I live a few miles from here. I come to check on this place sometimes." Lena felt surprise. "Why?" Sam looked at the cabin with soft eyes. "Because a good man once lived here." "Ron," Lena said quietly. Sam smiled. "Yes. Ron was my friend." Lena invited Sam inside. He was cold and grateful for the warmth. Tom watched him closely, but did not feel afraid. Sam told them stories about Ron. How Ron helped travelers. How he fixed things no one else wanted. How he believed kindness should not be loud. "He left this place for people like you," Sam said. "People who truly need it." Lena felt tears return, but she did not hide them. Sam stayed for a short while, then prepared to leave. Before going, he gave Lena advice about surviving the winter and where to find help if needed. "You are not alone," he said before closing the door. That night, Lena felt something new. Belonging. Days passed slowly. Lena and Tom settled into a simple routine. They cleaned, cooked, and fixed small things. Tom explored nearby areas during the day while Lena kept the fire strong. Lena noticed changes in herself. She felt stronger. Not because life was easy, but because she was learning to face it without running. One evening, as snow fell gently outside, Tom asked a quiet question. "Mom, why did you never give up?" Lena thought for a moment. Then she answered truthfully. "Because you needed me not to." Tom hugged her tightly. The cabin stood firm against the wind that night. Inside, warmth and courage grew together. Lena looked at the fire and understood something important. This place did not save them by magic. It gave them a chance. And Lena was ready to fight for that chance. Winter grew stronger as days passed. Snow fell more often, and the wind became sharper. The cabin stood alone among the trees, facing every storm without moving. Inside, Lena and Tom had learned how to live with little and still feel safe. Each morning, Lena woke early to feed the fire. She kept the blankets dry and the food stored carefully. Tom helped by gathering small sticks near the cabin and cleaning the floor. They worked as a team, and their bond grew deeper. One afternoon, the sky darkened faster than usual. The air felt heavy. Lena stepped outside and looked up. Thick clouds rolled across the sky. "A storm is coming," she said. Tom held onto her coat. "A big one." Lena nodded. "Yes. We must prepare." They moved quickly. Lena secured the door with extra wood. She checked the roof and placed buckets inside to catch any leaks. Tom brought water inside and stacked firewood near the fireplace. By evening, the storm arrived. Wind pushed hard against the cabin. Snow flew in every direction. The trees bent and shook, making loud sounds. The cabin creaked, but it held. Inside, Lena and Tom sat close to the fire. Tom tried to stay brave, but fear returned to his eyes. "Mom," he whispered. "What if the cabin breaks?" Lena pulled him closer. Her voice stayed calm. "Then we face it together." The storm grew louder. Hours passed. The fire burned low, then strong again as Lena added wood. Her hands shook, but she kept going. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed above them. Part of the roof shifted. Snow fell through a small opening. Lena reacted fast. She placed a board over the gap and pressed it tight with a heavy box. Cold air rushed in, but the damage stopped from growing. Tom watched in silence, amazed by his mother's strength. The storm continued through the night. Lena did not sleep. She stayed alert, listening, watching, protecting. By morning, the wind finally slowed. The snow rested quietly around the cabin. The storm had passed. Lena opened the door carefully. The world outside looked different. Everything was covered in white. The path was gone. They were surrounded. Lena felt a heavy weight in her chest. They had food. They had warmth. But they were cut off. Later that day, Sam arrived on his old sled. He looked tired but relieved. "I was worried about you," he said. He inspected the cabin and helped Lena fix the roof properly. Together, they worked until the sun began to set. Sam spoke honestly. "Winter will get harder. You need to decide what comes next." Lena knew he was right. That night, after Tom fell asleep, Lena sat alone by the fire. She thought about the city, about work, about schools and rules. She thought about the cabin, about peace, about strength she did not know she had. Living here was hard, but leaving meant starting again with nothing. In the quiet, Lena made a choice. The next morning, she told Tom, "We will stay here until spring." Tom smiled. I like it here. Lena smiled too, but her heart was serious. Staying meant responsibility. This cabin was no longer just shelter. It was a promise. Days turned into weeks. Lena learned how to repair more of the cabin. She learned how to manage food carefully. Sam visited when he could, bringing news and small supplies. One day, a lost traveler appeared at their door. He was cold and weak. Lena welcomed him in without hesitation. She gave him food and warmth. She remembered Ron's words. Kindness should not be loud. The traveler left the next day, thankful and hopeful. That night, Lena realized something important. She had become the guardian of this place. The cabin was no longer abandoned. It was alive again. Spring arrived slowly, almost quietly. At first, Lena noticed small changes. The snow near the cabin door melted during the day. Water dropped from the roof in steady sounds. The air no longer cut the skin as sharply as before. Tom was the first to point it out. Mom, the ground is showing. Lena stepped outside and smiled. Brown earth peeked through the snow. It felt like a promise. The hardest part of winter was over. Life in the cabin had shaped them. Lena no longer felt weak or unsure. She moved with purpose. Every action had meaning. The cabin stood strong because she had learned how to care for it. With the warmer days, Lena cleaned the area around the cabin. She cleared fallen branches and repaired the fence. Tom helped by gathering stones and placing them near the door. They worked side by side, talking and laughing. Lena planted seeds near the cabin. Sam had given them to her during his last visit. For when the snow leaves, he had said. Now the soil was ready. As days passed, green shoots pushed through the ground. Tom watched them every morning. They are growing, he said proudly. So are we, Lena replied. The cabin became a place people talked about. Travelers passing through the forest knew they could find warmth and food there. Lena never turned anyone away. She gave what she could and asked nothing in return. One afternoon, a family arrived. A mother and her 2 children stood at the door, tired and unsure. Lena saw her own past in their eyes. Come in, Lena said gently. They stayed for 2 nights. The children slept near the fire, safe and warm. Before leaving, the mother hugged Lena with tears in her eyes. You saved us, she said. Lena shook her head. This place did. But deep inside, she knew she had become part of its purpose. One evening, Lena returned to the hidden room. She opened Ron's last notebook. The final page held a simple message. When someone takes my place, the cabin will never be empty. Lena closed the book slowly. She understood now. Ron had not just left supplies. He had left a responsibility. Sam visited again as spring flowers began to bloom. He looked around with pride. You did well, he said. I did not do it alone, Lena replied. The cabin helped me. Sam smiled. No. You helped the cabin too. As time passed, Lena found small ways to earn money. She repaired clothes for travelers. She traded food she grew. It was not much, but it was enough. Tom started learning from Sam about the forest. He learned which plants were safe and how to read the weather. He grew stronger and more confident each day. One quiet night, Tom asked a question. Mom, are we going back to the city? Lena looked at the fire, then at her son. One day, maybe. But not because we are forced to. Only if we choose to. Tom nodded. He liked that answer. The cabin stood tall through every season. It no longer looked forgotten. Smoke rose from its chimney. Laughter filled its walls. Lena often thought about the moment she spent her last money. The fear. The doubt. The cold. She realized something important. That moment did not mark the end of her life. It marked the beginning. The cabin became a symbol of second chances. Not because it was strong, but because the people inside it were. And whenever the wind howled through the trees, the cabin stood firm, holding warmth, hope, and a future built with courage. The promise Lena made to her son that cold evening had been kept. They did not freeze. They found a home.